To be a good youth basketball coach does not mean you have to constantly scream at your players and scream at the referees. In fact, constantly screaming at both players and refs makes you a really bad coach. So look, trust me, I've been there. Not many people know this, but when you're coaching the actual game, standing on the bench or sitting on the bench, it's actually the most boring thing in the world. Because really, you're heavily involved in practices, in the pre-game stuff, in the post-game stuff. But during the actual game, almost everything is literally out of your control. And you are really and literally at the mercy of your players and the referees. What do I mean by that? Well, you can't actually get on the court and score baskets for your team. You can't get on the court and force the referee to call all the fouls. So you are just literally standing or sitting there hoping, praying, begging that your players actually perform and the refs give you the calls that you actually need. So because of this, most coaches really turn almost all of their attention to the referees. They think that the refs are out to get them, that the refs, it's always one-sided. They can't understand why your team has 10 fouls and the other team only has 2 fouls. But listen, I'm here to tell you that you have to stop complaining, because the only person you should be mad at is yourself. If your team is underperforming, you need to sub out those players and put in new ones. If your team is underperforming, it's not because the refs keep on calling travels. Maybe you need to call a timeout to regroup and regain everybody's focus so that your team can be all on the same page. Or honestly, maybe it's just one of those days your team is going to get blown out and there's literally nothing you can do. Now, specifically about the referees, this is one of my biggest pet peeves, because the refs are there just to get paid, especially in youth basketball. The refs are only probably making $30, $40, maybe $60, $70 if it's a really good league. They literally do not care who wins or loses. They are just there trying to make the right calls. They are literally trying their best, and you are stopping them from doing that. And just think about this. If you think the referees are horrible while they're giving their 100% undivided attention to the game, now if you're constantly talking to them and you're distracting them, do you think they're gonna get better? No. Now they're going to be talking to you, they're going to be distracted, they're going to get their emotions involved, and now they're only going to make it worse. Honestly, the only time you should be complaining to the referees is if you know they got something wrong and you can quote the rule word for word from the rule book and explain to the referees why that's incorrect. Because if you're just constantly complaining, the refs are going to lose respect for you. They're going to stop listening for your voice, and maybe in a time where you really need something to happen, the refs are going to miss it. Not because they're purposely trying to go out their way and hurt you, but they're human and you're nagging. And I don't know if you've ever had somebody nagging at you, but it's just annoying and you just tend to drown it out. And here's the worst part about complaining about the referees. Because you see, you're the leader of your team, and most likely in practices, you're always telling your kids, hey, there are no excuses. You got to do this, you got to do that to be not only a successful basketball player, but a successful person when they get older. But now they see you bucking up and complaining to authority and basically telling not only your team, but your parents and everybody else there that your team's play and actions are not the reason why you guys are not being successful. It's actually some outside force that's causing you guys harm and it's causing you guys to fail. What exactly are you teaching the kids in that situation? Instead of complaining to the referees, you should tell your players to not worry about the referees, and your players have to adjust. And you should be penalizing and giving consequences to players who are talking to the referees or who are complaining to the referees, because that's them bucking at authority. And they do that to the referees. I'm telling you, one day down the line, they're going to do that to you because you're the authority as well. We don't really want that. So if the ref is not calling the game to your liking, you complaining is literally not going to change anything. That ref calls it how he or she sees it. So you just have to literally adjust. And this is why you're the coach. If they keep on calling these ticky-tack reaching fouls, you have to tell your team to stop reaching. If every time you drive to the basket and you notice your team is hand checking and they're calling, you got to tell your team to get your hands off. If the referee's calling way too many travels for your liking, you have to tell your team to stop all these fancy moves, pass the ball, keep things simple. This is where you as a coach have to step up and help your team and not just complain to the authority on the court and wishing things get better. Now, keep in mind, this doesn't mean you can't ask the referees questions, but you just can't be disrespectful, because I know you think the refs are horrible, but honestly, they're humans. They're going to make mistakes. And you as the coach is also a human being, and you're definitely not coaching a perfect game as well. So cut them some slack, just like you hope that your parents and your players cut you some slack when you make mistakes as well. So do you agree or disagree about constantly complaining or yelling and screaming at players and referees? If so, let me know in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed the video, subscribe while you're at it too. Lastly, send this video to like 5 other coaches who may need some help coaching too. All right, guys, Coach Darren out. Peace.
Sunny days. Gonna be a brighter day 'cause it's sunny days.